Hello and welcome to this session in which we will discuss the benefits of the cycle approach to segmenting the audit. What does that mean? It means when we conduct an audit, we don't examine each account individually. What we do, we are going to divide the financial statements into smaller segments. So we're going to break the statements into different segments. What is this going to do? It's going to make the audit more manageable. So rather than auditing each account, we might have a more efficient way. Also, what we do, for each segment, we will assign the appropriate team. For example, let's take a segment as sales and collection. This is a cycle. This is a segment, sales and collection. What we do, we will assign people specialized in sales and collection to the cycle. And for illustration purposes, I will show you exactly the sales and collection cycle. And because we are assigning specialized people, we're going to promote efficiency because they know what they're doing. They're going to hit several accounts at the same time, and we're going to see how. While each segment is audited separately, they are not fully independent. Why? Think about it. If we're looking at the sales cycle would involve account receivable, sales, cash, sales return, sales discounts. So for example, cash is interconnected to other accounts. All accounts involve cash. We might also involve inventory and cost of goods sold. This interdependence ensures a thorough interconnected audit that considers the relationships between different parts of the financial audit. Meanwhile, everyone is communicating with everyone because it's all interconnected. And remember the double entry bookkeeping. We have a debit and we have a credit. So each transaction affects two accounts. And oftentimes what happens is when we are looking at the transaction, some of it when we have a debit on the balance sheet, we might have credit on the income statement or vice versa. Now we might also have both, debits and the credits both on the balance sheet, but all the accounts are interconnected. And we're going to see when we look at the illustration purposes. So that's why we break the audit into cycles. Let's go ahead and look at some typical cycle approach. Before we proceed any further, I have a public announcement about my company, FarhatLectures.com. Farhat Accounting Lectures is a supplemental educational tool that's going to help you with your CPA exam preparation as well as your accounting courses. My CPA material is aligned with your CPA review course such as Becker, Roger, Wiley, Gleam, Miles. My accounting courses are aligned with your accounting courses broken down by chapter and topics. My resources consist of lectures, multiple choice questions, true-false questions, as well as exercises. Go ahead, start your free trial today. Common way to segmenting the cycle is using what's called the cycle approach. What's the cycle approach? Well, we can break the audit into the sales and collection cycle, acquisition and payment cycle, payroll and personnel cycle, inventory and warehousing cycle, capital acquisition and repayment cycle. Now, these cycles would rely on your accounting basic knowledge and intermediate accounting knowledge. Because when you are taking an audit course, the assumption is you know your basic accounting. So I'm going to show you sales and collection cycle as an illustration. Now, eventually, we have to go through each cycle separately for auditing purposes. And when I go through each cycle separately, I will dive more into these cycles. But for today, I'm going to show you the sales cycle just to show you the benefit of segmenting the audit. Okay, sales cycle. Well, the sales cycle represents the sequence of steps of a company takes from the time it starts with a sale to a customer until it receives the payment. So we start with some sort of a sales and we end up with the cash. That's basically the sales cycle. But a lot of things happen in between. We start with the sales cycle. Let's assume we sold $1,000 worth of goods on credit. We debit account receivable, which is a balance sheet account. We credit sales revenue, which is an income statement account. Now, if we are recording this transaction using perpetual inventory system, we're going to have to record cost of goods sold, it's an income statement account for $600, and credit inventory, which is a balance sheet account for $600. Now, bear in mind, inventory would have its own cycle because inventory is large. Although within the sales cycle, we would look at inventory, but inventory is very important. It has its own cycle. Let's keep going with the transaction. We make the sale. Sometimes the customer might return some items. If the customer returned items, let's assume the customer returned $200 worth of goods, we will debit allowance, sales returns and allowances, and we credit the account receivable. Then sometime the customer might pay it early. Now remember, we sold $1,000 worth of goods. They returned $200. They still owe us $800. Now they pay within the discount period and they received $50 of a discount. Well, if they received $50 of a discount, we debit sales discount, which is an income statement. Credit account receivable, which is a balance sheet. Also, balance sheet is an account receivable. Debit sales return is an income statement. So the point I'm trying to show is that each entry here is affecting a balance sheet and an income statement, but they are all interconnected. Then we collect the money. So if they return, if they pay within the discount period, they got $50 discount, they still owe us $750. We debit cash $750 when we receive the payment. We credit account receivable. Notice here they are both balance sheet account. Then if we happen to estimate allowance, in this situation we received everything, we debit bad debt expense, we credit the allowance. The point I am trying to make here is I'm showing you bad debt expense is an income statement, allowance is a balance sheet. The point I am trying to show is all the accounts that are involved from the time we made the sale until the time we collected the cash. Those are the various accounts. Now what we do is we assign one group or one individual to do what? To look at this cycle. So the cycle is called sales and collection cycle. Which journals are involved? Well, since we are making sales on account, we're going to look at the sales journal, obviously the cash receipt journal, we're going to be receiving cash, and the general journal for transactions that we have to journalize. Which balance sheet accounts are involved? Cash, trade receivable, we might have other receivable, allowance for uncollectible or doubtful accounts. Which income statements were affected? Sales returns and allowances, and bad debt expense. So what we do, one individual or one group will take care of the cycle. Okay, now there are other cycles, acquisition and payment cycles. Which journals are involved, which balance sheet accounts are involved, and which income statement. But notice always cash is involved practically in all cycles because we pay cash in the bank, cash in the bank, cash in the bank. Inventory is not, because inventory is separate, but we pay cash for inventory. So those are the various accounts. Once again, don't be overwhelmed. All what I'm trying to show you now is the connectivity of the accounts. Eventually, we're going to have a few lessons for each cycles. How do we audit each cycle? What the cycle looks like, its internal control, substantive testing, analytical procedures. Don't worry, we'll worry about that later. For now, let's take a look at a multiple choice questions from Farhat lectures. Just going to use our common sense to answer this question. Which of the following balance sheet accounts are included in the payroll and personnel cycle? So can you identify the accounts that are involved in the payroll and personnel cycle? A, accrued payroll. We're accruing payroll. Yes. Cash in the bank. Oh, yes. Cash in the bank is it's part of the payroll. Is it trade account payable? Do we have accounts payable involved in payroll? No. So trade payable, A is out. Accrued payroll, yes. Cash in the bank, yes. Cash is basically practically involved in practically every cycle. Accrued payroll taxes, yes. When we accrue payroll taxes, it's part of the payroll. This looks like a good answer, but we don't want to check. We don't want to confirm it until we answer the other questions. Accrued payroll, yes. Accrued payroll taxes, yes. Notes payable, no. Notes payable is loan. That's a different cycle, out. Cash in the bank, always, practically in every cycle. Accrued payroll taxes, yes. Allowance for uncollectible, no. It's for account receivable, therefore D is out. Indeed, B was the correct answer. Accrued payroll is part of the payroll and personnel cycle, and cash in the bank, practically, if you notice in all the answers we had cash in the bank, and accrued payroll taxes are all part of the payroll cycle. So the individual or the group of people who are auditing payroll and personnel, they will focus on accrued payroll taxes, and for every debit there's a credit. Sometimes cash is involved, obviously as a credit for the company and the payroll cycle. They would look at that as well. What should you do now? Go to Farhat lectures, look at the additional MCQs, true, false. Don't worry, we are going to go later and look at this cycle inside out, each of these cycles. Good luck, study hard, invest in yourself, whether you are a CPA exam candidate or an accounting student. Stay safe.